major, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Danielle Toland, and my pronouns are she and her.
I'm Gross-Santos. I use they, them, their pronouns.
Right. And for our presentation, we are going to talk about how we are creating a mini exhibit and with our work at the Seacoast African American Cultural Center. And so right now we're enrolled in ANT 700, which is an internship course, and under the supervision of Golomski, who's here today, we have the opportunity to work at this center. And it's dedicated to celebrating the history of African American culture as it is throughout the Seacoast, both past and present. And this is where it is. It's located at the Discover Portsmouth Center in downtown Portsmouth. And for our whole research, our responsibilities are to catalog, research, and create a mini exhibit towards the beginning of May, middle of May, using the artifacts that have been donated to the center, and specifically by Dr. Ward Cromer, who was a clinical psychologist and world traveler. He donated over 50 artifacts throughout his travels in Africa, and this is a photo of most of them, if not all. It's an incredible collection that we're very lucky to receive. And that process is called a session, and that is by the process by which a museum or organization receives objects, whether it's by donation or loaning or trading with another organization. And then after that, we do cataloging, which is what Danielle will talk about.
Okay, so one of the first things that we interns worked on was cataloging the new artifacts that had come in with the Cromer collection. So we went to the storage facility located in Greenland, New Hampshire, where the SAC stores all of their artifacts. We then removed the artifacts that did not have a catalog number, and we assigned them a number and wrote down a brief description of the item, which we then transferred onto a shared Excel spreadsheet that the SAC uses as their catalog. We then brought these items to the photography studio of our volunteer photographer, Tom Lavoie, who photographed the items, which we then put up on SAC's online catalog. After that, we returned the artifacts to the storage facility where they will stay until the SAC has further use of them.
So the next project that we have is creating our own mini exhibit, as Maddie said, and we are focusing on Heavy Metal Africa, which is a catchy title to draw people in to learn more about what we want to present in our exhibit. And we're focusing on metals in Africa and how different cultural groups used blacksmithing technology to create metal and brass and copper and iron to create masks, figures, and tools, some of which have been categorized in ceremonial use or ritual use, utility as in farming, or social class, or weaponry as well. And these objects all have a different story to say based on where they came from, which cultural group had them, and the use in which that they were used for. And we want to tell the stories of the people who created these objects and the people who donated these objects to us through the objects, because each of them has some significance to the heritage between Africa and America. We want to reach our communities in the Seacoast by presenting these objects in the mini exhibit, and hopefully the interns in the future of this program will be able to do more with all the other artifacts that we have. And this one is an example, not from the Cromer collection, but from a different collection, the Werner collection. And this one is for ritual use. And on the next page, we have two examples of like utility and lifestyle, a hoe, and this one, a status symbol, a war axe. And we also have artifact labels underneath to explain what you are seeing when you go into the exhibit. Danielle will explain more about that.
So once we had decided which objects we wanted to feature in our mini collection, we set about researching the objects in greater detail. Maddie looked through books about African art and culture, and I looked on the internet. We researched broad topics that visitors might not know, such as how metals are made or where the different cultural groups are located in Africa. We also researched more specific information, such as what the knives were used for. We found that, for example, this knife shown here had the engraving on it that says, Joseph Rogers and Sons, Cutlers to Her Majesty. there is a reproduction of it from a different knife that's not in our collection. With further research, we discovered that this was a company that operated in 1800s Sheffield, England, and were knife makers for the British royalty. So many of the objects in our collection are used as status symbols in Africa to show wealth and power. This shows that African cultures have complex social systems that involve international trade, and this is important for visitors to know because it helps to eradicate the stereotype that African cultures are primitive. So after we researched, we made graphics and write-ups that shows the information that we found, such as this graphic on the differences between the metals. Cal also made the artifact labels, which we learned how to adhere to specific size and font standards for people with disabilities. On the artifact labels is included what the object is, when and where it was made, what it's made of, and the catalog number.
So what we learned through this process was more than just how to assess artifacts. We learned that these artifacts all have lives of their own that continue to be lived inside the museum exhibit that we're holding them in, as well as the storage facility. And we want to be able to tell the story and have these artifacts tell the stories themselves when people come in to view them. And while they may be seen as art, they were used for utility or lifestyle at a different point in their lifespan, but they continue to grow in a way that is shaped by how we perceive them. And we want to rethink what we think as primitive, because those artifacts didn't really look that primitive. They had a lot of use for agriculture and social class. And we want to reach out to the community more as well. And this is an example of us doing our first project for the internship with Casey when he presented at the York Public Library. And over 40 people showed up. We got media representation there. And we want to keep on doing that to reach out to the community and have more people be interested and learn about the heritage of other people that occupy the same spaces as us.
And that being said, we encourage everyone to visit the center. It's located in downtown Portsmouth, like we said, at the Discover Portsmouth Center. And you can see that's the entrance right over there. And we have our emails along with Casey's email, if that's okay. And we put the phone number here, and also we're on Facebook. So please feel free to contact us, contact the center, go visit. It's an incredible place, and there's a little gift shop too. That's really nice.